company will present about two companies which are 7-Eleven and Kawan Berhad. So from these two companies, we will tell all of you which company is better for us to invest. Okay, we have already explored and looked over both company annual report and make some calculation and all things that we need to do. So we are here to present all the calculation and all the information that we get. Okay, first of all, I will talk about 7-Eleven company first. Okay, 7-Eleven is the world's largest convenience store and consistently ranked as a top 10 franchisor. The brand is known and loved around the world, and their iconic products are a big part of American culture. Okay, although they have grown exponentially over the years, their focus stays fixed on making life easier for their customers. Okay, next I will talk about Kawan Berhad company. Kawan Berhad is one of Malaysia's leading exporter and largest manufacturer of frozen Asian food delicacies worldwide. They are all about providing their consumer with authentic, safe, and highest quality product at affordable price, while making a difference in the life of their shareholders, consumers, business partners, employees, and the community. Okay, I will start with the first ratio, which is profitability ratio. Okay, the profitability ratio measures the extent to which the management of the firm is generating adequate profits from the use of the firm's capital and asset. Okay, let us consider three profitability ratios, which are gross profit margin, operating profit margin, and net profit margin. Okay, after we calculate the data from annual report, we can conclude that for the gross profit margin, 7-Eleven is able to generate 0.3136 ringgit of gross profit, while Kawan Berhad is able to generate 0.3352 ringgit of gross profit for every RM1 of revenue made by the company. So it could be said that Kawan Berhad is able to generate more of gross profit rather than 7-Eleven, although the value are slightly different. Okay, for operating profit margin, it can be said that from RM1 generated by the both company, from their operating income, Kawan Berhad earns 0.041 ringgit, and 7-Eleven earns 0.0509 ringgit. So, Kawan Berhad has better operating profit margin compared to 7-Eleven, as the company can cover up more the total operating expense from the revenue. Okay, for the next profit margin, it may be interpreted that for every RM1 of revenue that 7-Eleven and Kawan Berhad earn, 7-Eleven earns a net profit before tax 0.0325 ringgit, and net profit after tax is 0.0229 ringgit. Okay, while Kawan Berhad earn a net profit before tax 0.0717 ringgit, and net profit after tax is 0.0561 ringgit. Okay, from the eyes of investor, it clearly shows that Kawan Berhad outperformed 7-Eleven regarding net profit margin. Okay, in conclusion, Kawan Berhad outperformed 7-Eleven based on the profitability ratios data that we have collected. Okay, Kawan Berhad is performing more well as it is having a high value for all the ratios relative to 7-Eleven. So it is proof that Kawan Berhad is better to translate monetary sales into profit at various stages of measurement.
So ladies and gentlemen, next we're going to take a look at the liquidity ratios. As for these presentations, we will take a look at 5 aspects of liquidity ratios, which is the first one is current ratios, asset test ratios, inventory turnover ratios, account receivable turnover ratios, and account payable turnover ratios. As we all already know here, that account payable is used to measure a company potentials when they pay their short-term obligation when it's due. So as you can see here, for the current ratio, Kawan for Berhad has higher ratio compared to 7-Eleven, which is 3.15 to 0.55 times. So 7-Eleven may have some difficulty when they're paying their current liabilities, but as investor, we also need to know lower in current ratios lead to higher operating cash flow. So in this case, since 7-Eleven has below 1 for their current ratios, they probably have higher in operating cash flow. Next, we're gonna take a look at asset test ratio, or we call as quick ratio. So for quick ratios, is to measure how company potential to turn their liquid asset into cash instantly when paying their short-term obligation. So as you can see here also, Kawan for Berhad has higher ratios compared to 7-Eleven, which is 2.58 to 0.23. So again, 7-Eleven may have some difficulty when they paying their short-term obligation. So next, inventory turnover ratios. So for inventory turnover ratio is to measure how companies manage their own inventory. So as for between Kawan for Berhad and 7-Eleven, there are no big gaps between their inventory turnover, which is 7 to 6 times. But since 7-Eleven has slightly better than Kawan for Berhad, 7-Eleven have a higher potential to turn their inventory into the sales. As for the inventory turnover ratios days, for the 7-Eleven, they have lower days compared to Kawan for Berhad, which is 52 days to 79 days. It means that again 7-Eleven have higher potential to turn their inventory into sales between 52 days. So next is account receivable turnover ratio. For this account receivable turnover ratio, we also can measure how company manage their own account receivable. So you can see a big difference between 7-Eleven and Kawan for Berhad. This probably may because 7-Eleven has restricted credit policy compared to Kawan for Berhad. That's why they have higher ratio in terms of account receivable turnover ratio. For account receivable turnover days, again, we can see that 7-Eleven has lower days compared to Kawan for Berhad, which is 12 days to 49 days. This leads to 7-Eleven really has a stricted credit policy compared to Kawan for Berhad to their creditors. So next, we're going to take a look at account payables turnover ratios. So between 7-Eleven and Kawan for Berhad, as you can see here, there are no such a big difference between their ratios. So, but since Kawan for Berhad has slightly higher than 7-Eleven, so we can say that Kawan for Berhad pay their account payables well managed compared to 7-Eleven. As account payables turnover days also, Kawan for Berhad take lower time compared to 7-Eleven to pay their account payables. So overall, we can conclude that both companies have their own strengths and weakness. But since Kawan for Berhad have more advantages, so we can see that Kawan for Berhad well more managed in the liquidity asset compared to 7-Eleven.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we will continue with leverage ratio, which will be represented by me. Okay, for debt ratio, we have two, which is in term of percent and also in term of time. Okay, both of the debt ratio, we can see that both of them are conquered by 7E, 7-Eleven, and which means that 7E has high debt ratio compared to Kawan Food Berhad. So, for the 7E, we can clearly see that 7E has 0.93 higher than Kawan Food Berhad, which is 0.5% in terms of debt ratio 4%. For other debt ratio, which is in terms of time, 7E has 9.8 times better than 9.8 times high than Kawan Food Berhad, which is 0.029. So we can you guys can clearly see that both of them 7E has higher debt ratio. Okay, so we can say that from this that 7E is relying significantly 680% debt ratio in long-term borrowing. As long as we know that if the company has high debt ratio, so it means that the company has many tax or many long-term borrowings that they cannot pay, which is even though 7-Eleven is a big company, but if they have a long debt, even they have a long-term borrowing and short-term, a much more long-term borrowings, it means that the way they manage their debt is not good. So for Kawan Food Berhad, we can see that Kawan Food Berhad has better managing on debt ratio. After that, I will explain to you about the interest cover ratio for both of the company. On the pie chart told us that Kawan Food Berhad has high interest cover ratio compared to 7-Eleven, which is Kawan Food Berhad is 15.9 times and for 7E is 2.76. So you guys can tell that Kawan Food Berhad has better times paying their interest before paying their earning before interest and tax, which is 15.3 times better than 7-Eleven.
Ladies and gentlemen, next we will proceed with the presentation of efficiency ratios for both companies. For the year financial ended for 31st December 2019, it shows us that 7-Eleven has better efficiency ratios than Kawan Food Berhad. In efficiency ratios, we have 4 parts that we have to look at. First, earnings per share. Second, return on capital employed. Third, return on asset. And fourth, return on equity. First, earnings per share. 7-Eleven outperformed Kawan Food Berhad with each shareholder will earn 3.64, meanwhile Kawan Food Berhad will earn 3.39 for each share held. Thus, it makes 7-Eleven has outperformed Kawan Food Berhad. Next, for return on capital employed, it shows us that 7-Eleven has better managing fundings than Kawan Food Berhad, with it able to generate more for its funding. Next, on return on total asset, it measures the company's ability to use the asset successfully to generate a profit. Thus, it shows us once again that 7-Eleven is the better company than Kawan Food Berhad. 7-Eleven succeed in generate 0.038 cent, meanwhile Kawan Food Berhad only generate 0.0315 from its assets. Thus, it makes 7-Eleven is a better company. Next, on return on equity, this is the most important part we have to look at as which company we need to invest in. 7-Eleven has better return on equity without a doubt because the return on equity for 7-Eleven exceeds 50% with 52.9%. Meanwhile, Kawan Food Berhad only has 3.70. It didn't even exceed 5%. Thus, as investors, return on equity is the most important part to look at for which company we want to invest in. Thus, for efficiency ratios, it can be concluded that 7-Eleven is a better company and has greater management than Kawan Food Berhad.
So I will continue with market ratio. Okay, so for market ratio, we have to also same like that ratio, which is price per earning ratio, also market ratio. Okay, so for price earning ratio, we can clearly see from this pie chart actually that Kawan for Berhad has high price earning ratio compared to 7-Eleven, which is for Kawan for Berhad is 41%. For 7E we have 2.45%, which is we can see that the gap between the value, right? So because of that, because of Kawan for Berhad has high price earning ratio, so from that fact that the company, many investors or many company willingly to pay their share because of the price share for Kawan for Berhad. We can see when we choose the company, we can see from the income statement for both of them actually that Kawan for Berhad has lower price in share compared to 7E. So that's why many investors want to pay for their share because of the price. Next is market to book ratio. Okay, for market to book ratio, we can see from this pie chart that actually 7E has high market to book ratio compared to Kawan for Berhad. So opposite from the price earning ratio. So for 7E is 129.88% compared to Kawan, which is 1.54%. So because of 7E has high market to book ratio, so we can clearly see that the 7E has better market value, market stock compared to Kawan for Berhad. So we can say that the current stock for 7E is better worth than Kawan for Berhad.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally arrived in the financial decision whether which company we need to invest, Kawan for Berhad or 7-Eleven. So the answer is 7-Eleven. Why? Isn't the Kawan for Berhad also have a better performance in their financial management? The answer is because 7-Eleven have a better future compared to Kawan for Berhad. As we all already discussed about all the financial statement analysis earlier, it gives us a conclusion that 7-Eleven, the performance of 7-Eleven is way more better and way more managed, also more stable compared to Kawan for Berhad. Also, 7-Eleven is a big company. They are well known all over the place, district in Malaysia. Every district in Malaysia have 7-Elevens. But as for Kawan for Berhad, they are rarely well known by the consumers. Also, in the food and services field, 7-Eleven's one of the top company that managed to conquer the food and services field. Also, you can see the future financial for 7-Eleven is way more stable compared to Kawan for Berhad. So as investor, we need to invest in high potential company and more stable company. So the answer is also 7-Eleven. As also the additional is 7-Eleven also an international company that will give a higher net profit per year. So it also gives beneficial for us when we invest in 7-Eleven. As we all already know, the chances of 7-Eleven to falling down is quite lower compared to Kawan for Berhad, because 7-Eleven is a big company compared to Kawan for Berhad. So this is the reasons why we need to invest in 7-Eleven, because we as investor, we we will get more benefit, more advantages from it.
Okay, for the next question, we will use efficiency ratio to give you why we choose 7-Eleven. Okay, so right now we want you guys, board of the director, to imagine as an eye of an investor. Okay, as an investor, what will you choose between two companies? A company that will give you a high return or a company that will give you a low return. So of course you guys will choose a company that will give you a high return, that will give you more money, right? So why will you choose a company that will give a low return? Of course you want more money. So you choose a company that will give you a high return. So based on the efficiency ratio for both of the company, we can say that the 7E that will give you 50 more percent more better than Kawan Berhad. Maybe Kawan Berhad will give you only 5%, not more than 10%. So you will choose 7E, right? And because of the efficiency ratio too, we can say that 7E has better management, or 7E has, we can say that 7E has better managerial team in their company compared to Kawan Berhad. So we can ensure the BOD, the board of directors, to invest to their company knowing that the management for their company is better, is good compared to Kawan Berhad. So we believe that because of the company has better management, we believe that the company will improve their debt ratio, they will improve their profitability ratio. So we believe that because they have a better management team. So as even though the price of share for 7E is high compared to Kawan Berhad, but I know the investment is worth it because you will get more money compared to what you give to them. So we will get more from what we give to them. Believe me.
Next, on why we should choose 7-Eleven as a company to invest in is because based on the data previous years. From the data previous years, it shows that 7-Eleven continue its reputation as a good company and very stable in making their profit. For the 7-Eleven, it gains significant increase by 6% compared to 2018. For your information, 7-Eleven able to generate almost 54.1 million in 2019, and 2018 it gains 51.3. Meanwhile, Kawan Berhad suffers a decline almost 50% from its previous year, which is 2018. In 2018, it gains 22.8 million in profit after taxation, and in 2019, it suffers almost half of it, which is 12 million only. It shows that 7-Eleven has stability in maintaining their profit. Despite all the challenges happening around the world, for example, the pandemic going around right now, 7-Eleven succeed in maintaining their reputation as a company. Although both companies has the increasing values in their revenues, but 7-Eleven proved itself to gain more profit from their previous years. Thus, it shows us that 7-Eleven is a better company and reassures us as investor as it has more stability than Kawan Berhad. Thus, I hope the board of directors, all the board of directors today will invest in 7E. Thank you.